us, and we are here to talk about a town that gave a woman who had an accident to cheer her up with police dogs. So we find out if the panel thinks that our pets can really change your life. Also, on the theme of love, we talk about, and following from Thursday's thoughts, we talk about the LGBT community and how we are loud and proud stood next to them. Also, we talk about a town full of good news, but I find out how the panel have kept their good news over lockdown. All that and a lot more on this week's Loose Links. Joining me, Nicholas James, on the panel is Mandy Stannard. Sam Bingham. And Abby Victoria, sorry. Nearly said your name wrong there, Abby. Nearly said your name wrong. Good evening, panel. How are we all?
Hi, everyone. Really good, thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to your next show. I'm sure you're full of discussion and ready to talk this evening. So we start with last week's polls on our debates. We have had a meeting this week about making sure comments are read out. I know I've said this in a previous show, but still haven't done it yet. So that is my aim for this week. So we have the polls of, would you work with your family? 68% said yes. 32% said no.
Oh.
Age gap relationship. Have you got a problem with it? 0% no, 26% yes, and then someone else added, Nigel Muller, thank you very much Nigel, added another vote of does it really matter, and 74% have said no. Also, offering free alcohol to parents on sending their children back to school. Free alcohol and free cake. Do we agree with this? 62% said yes. With a comment from Rebecca, the professional, says free alcohol is never good. The mum in me says which one? I'm on my way, and 38% said no. So thank you for your comment there, Rebecca. We did have a comment tonight. I can't keep up. So this evening I'm in the driving seat again, and we start in the town of Louth. Good evening, Louth. As we talk about a Lincolnshire woman that lives in Louth that was surprised by the police coming around with police dogs. Now, this woman was a police officer many years ago, and she had a really bad accident in her home. She fell down the stairs, suffering with a broken wrists and many other injuries. The local police found out about this, and to cheer her up, brought down the local police dogs to put a smile on her face. So, panel, I ask you, do you think pets can really change your life?
Yes. It's a big yes from me. If anyone follows me on Facebook, I've got an album dedicated to my cat. We had a kitten almost 12 months ago, and my daughter had been asking me for months and months, can we have a pet? And I'm one of those parents who kind of put it off and put it off and put it off. And then my friend had a cat who'd had kittens, and she sent me a picture, and that was it. I was smitten. And he's brought so much joy and happiness, and I treat him like a baby, like a proper baby. I cradle him and everything, and I talk to him like a baby more than I did to my own baby.
Andy, what about you? Do you think a pet can change your life?
Yeah, we've got a cat. He's very old, but he's adorable. Yeah. And it keeps you calm, stroking him and looking at someone else to look after, I suppose, especially if you're living on your own.
Yeah. What about you, Abby? Have you got any pets at home?
Well, I feel out of place. I've got a dog. So I feel out of place with the cat people. But yeah, no, I love him. He's always there. He always knows as well if you're upset or if you're not very well.
Yeah.
He's a staffy though, so he's not the smallest of dogs, but he likes to lay on you. if you're injured. And it's like, you can't do that because you're laying on my injury, but thank you. But no, it's just nice, especially when you come home from a long day at work. Just, I say to greet, he's normally getting out of bed because he's like a teenager when I'm getting home from work, but just like have someone greet you at the door when you arrive. But
yeah, I think people like I think it's really funny actually, because the thing is, as humans, I feel we do take for granted what we have around us. And sometimes you can walk after a really long day. Abby was just talking about, you've just recently gone back, haven't you? And it's been a really long day today. And I think when you walk through the door, you almost, I'm talking about this as a single man. So I'm trying to think back to the relationships that I was in. But you almost take for granted the person that's there. Oh, hi, yeah, you're right, nice to see you. But a pet, you can go out for 2 seconds, especially a dog. You can go out for 2 seconds and walk back through the door, and it's like they haven't seen you for ages.
Yeah.
And they're just excited, and I think that's really special, because we do, as I say, with human beings, I think that we take it. I'm not just talking about humans. We take a lot of stuff for granted that we have around us. And I think a pet just reminds us of that pure love that you can get from people.
Yeah, definitely. I talk randomly to my cat as well, and he doesn't answer me back, or he doesn't moan at me or anything, so it's really nice. But for me, it is.
My dog just ignores me.
Well, exactly. But could you dare to say live on camera that you love your pet more than you love some of your family members?
Oh.
I think
Could you risk saying that?
I would see a pet as a family member, though.
Yeah,
Abby, good comeback!
I agree with Abby.
But I think your pet is your family member.
Definitely. I did say I'll treat him like my baby, because he is. He's my fur baby. I've got a daughter who's 14 and doesn't like being kissed and cuddled, so I just pick up the cat and kiss and cuddle him instead.
Yeah. What about you, man? Could you love a pet more than your children?
Sometimes, yeah. No, there is this. He's part of the family. I mean, I know there are people, like they'll say they've got guard dogs, or, if you're upset because your pet's died and they look at you like, oh, it's only a bloody animal. But no, they're part of your life. They're in your life for years. They're just part of life, aren't they?
Could you? So you've all got a pet. I haven't got a pet. I used to have a pet, but I don't have a pet now. Could you now? Have they 100% changed you? Picture not having that pet. Picture not having that pet at home. Could you picture that? Has it changed your life completely?
Yeah, it has mine, definitely. As I say, I'm a single parent. My daughter's 14 now, going to college and stuff and doing her own thing. And even though it's just a pet, he's there all the time, sort of thing, and I can go and pick him up and stuff like that. So I don't think I could imagine life without him now, no.
No. What about you, man? Could you picture not having a pet?
Well, I won't have another one.
You won't?
No. I think that, well, not straight away. Maybe in a couple of years again. But they do. They do need looking after. I mean, it's a cat, so I mean, he looks after himself. But you're still. Yeah, you're still tied, aren't you? It is like having a baby. It doesn't feed itself. It doesn't clean up after itself. You have to feed it, clean it, look after it, take it to the vet, whatever. So, but yeah, I don't want to be without him. He's part of the furniture, and not that anybody sees him, because you get anybody in the house and he disappears,
Aww.
You're lucky. Well, he's a typical scaredy cat. He's scared of everything. Even his own shadow sometimes. But yeah, he's only little. but he's really old, bless him.
Well, looking at this tonight, we don't just have pets that randomly just walk in and walk out again. We also have human beings, don't we, Sam?
We do, definitely.
Walking and walk out. Okay, going off the pet story a little bit then. Do you think this story has inspired you? So the story that I've written about this lady and the pets and stuff like that. And do you think the community spirit in the UK has gone?
I think since lockdown, community spirit has come back up.
Yeah.
Say before that, it was not in all areas. I think it depends where you are. So like I'm obviously in a little town, so you've got more of your community spirit than if you're in like London in a big city. But I do think lockdown has sort of brought streets together. Like you hear of people that have gone around each other's houses and like, let's sort out a Facebook group or WhatsApp and let's just organise stuff for the street to do. So I think it is starting to build back up. I'm just hoping that once lockdown's over, it won't just then disappear and everyone sort of forgets about their neighbours again.
Yeah.
So have you found it more with neighbours then, Abby? Have you found like community change with the people that live around you more than anything?
Yeah, definitely, especially like on the street, especially with the Thursday night clap that we did for the
That
NHS.
sounds so wrong, Sandra. Thursday night club. Yeah.
That's a whole new show.
Thursday night.
Well, I am from Gainsborough, so no offence to anyone that's watching.
Mandy, do you feel as the oldest one on the panel? Do you feel that?
Look, this is going out, or I would be doing some choice hand gestures now.
Do you think community spirit has disappeared?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I've moved from where I used to live. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of friends that, you know, you're always there for each other. But where I live now, I think, the neighbours are more open to that, you know, chatting, looking after the house if you're away, you know, dropping the key off with them or whatever. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's I think a lot of people are more scared nowadays of strangers or people coming into the community that you don't know until you get to know. It's hard. You know, the media, the news, you don't know people as well as you used to, I don't think. People are more isolated. They've got their own lives. They don't mingle, you know, like my friends, they don't all live near me. Whereas if we all lived near each other, it would be a hoot, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What about you, Sam? What have you noticed? Have you noticed a difference?
Yeah, I think where I live, there doesn't feel as though there's community spirit actually in the community, but it's all merged online. So like Abby was saying, you've got your little groups and your WhatsApp groups and things like that. I do a little weekly check-in with all my online friends just to see if everyone's okay. So for me, it's about more online and Zoom, obviously, and things like that, more so than actually within the community. But I think COVID's got a huge part to play in that. So unfortunately, I think that's how we're moving forward and how we're dealing with this situation that we're all in at the moment.
Well, I was very fortunate in, I think it was about 2015, that I as many of you are aware, I'm a Christian and I go to church, and I was given an opportunity to go to Africa for some charity work, and I went over to a place called Tanzania, which it's very, very poor community, and I was culture shocked when I got there to think, actually, I can't believe people live like this. And it was a very, very long journey. Like, it was 8 hours on a plane, and then it was 4 hours in a Land Rover. And we're not talking about roads that the UK have. We're talking about roads that are like that all the way through. And what opened my eyes to I was quite sceptical before about people on benefits. If I'm completely honest, I was really, really sceptical. And I went to Africa and they had nothing but each other. And I was really, really inspired that they had so little. And what they classed as really important was scraps of, like, to me, just things that you would just throw in the bin. But like, parents would come and drop off their children in the morning where we were working, and they'd go off for the day. Well, you wouldn't find that in the UK now. You wouldn't, there's no way a child would be left on their own with somebody that they don't know. But it really opened my eyes to the benefit system, because I'm more sympathetic now, because I've realised when coming back, and I have to constantly remind myself of this, that to do anything in the UK, you need money. To do absolutely anything, to see a friend, to go out for coffee, and it must be so deriding when it comes to being on the benefit system and you are just surrounded by money all the time. And I find it, so I've really changed my sceptical on thinking on, because I was really quite negative about people on benefits and stuff like that, and actually you're getting money and this, that and the other, but actually it's just enough to survive on, and it's not even that nowadays, is it? It's not even. So I was really, my eyes were opened when it comes to spending in the UK. Like, I walk into a supermarket and there was one toilet roll in Africa. And you walk into a supermarket and see about 12 brands, and you just think, why do we need 12 brands? Why can't we just have one brand of toilet roll? Why do we need 12 of them? Do you get where I'm saying, Panel, or do you disagree?
No, with toilet roll, we need that many, because if we had a pandemic, there's never any on the shelf anyway.
I was thinking exactly what Mandy's just said.
But I think it's because families have spread out. You know, we live in a country or a community where people travel. They leave home and they travel miles away and settle elsewhere. And like your friends, you can meet friends at school, or then at work or at clubs or whatever, and they don't live near you. So I suppose community spirit is different here, because, you know, we in a community, you look after your own. Well, our sort of community now is, like you say, online or spread out. So, you know, if our friends need us, we go.
Do we need to stop thinking like that? Is that an old way of thinking? Do we need to stop thinking about just ourselves and our own, and to maybe go outside the box and think about maybe a neighbour across the road that you've never even spoken to? Abby's just briefly talked about getting to know your neighbours a little bit more. Are we too fixated on looking after our own bubble? Do you think that we need to open that bubble a little bit more and share it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there are some people that don't want. It's hard because a lot of people don't want to. I mean, I could knock on everybody's door, put a note in and say, "Oh, I want to meet you all, come round." They might think she's a bit mad. Well, I am, but, you know, they just think, "Oh, I'm not going round there. Not that much now." You know, it's hard, isn't it?
As always, follow us on all social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. And we are looking to other social media platforms, so we will let you know. But your views are just as important as ours. So if you think community needs to get a little bit more together, tell us about it. Tell us how your community has come together throughout lockdown, or has it fallen more apart in the part of UK that you are in. Moving slowly forward, I went very personal on Thursday sports this week, and we are going to talk about it a little bit more in depth tonight. But I feel like it was a position for me, really, because of being part of the community. I couldn't not go personal with it. I did try my very hardest, but I couldn't. So staying on the theme of love, we're going to talk about this week the LGBT community and relationships and love, and how we've come on from maybe 10 years ago. So my question to you tonight, panel, is, do you feel we still have a long way to go for acceptance in the LGBT community in the UK?
Yes.
Yeah.
We shouldn't, but yes, we do.
Why do you feel that, Mand?
Because there are so many people out there that are against it, aren't they? Against change or something that isn't what they consider the norm, which is, one female and one male, but there's so many different ways to be loved and love people out there that it shouldn't be the way it is. But I think there's still a long way to go.
Okay. Sam, you agree?
Yeah, I echo what Mandy's just said. I think we live in a community, a country where people are frightened of change, where people don't necessarily understand this, so therefore it's just easy to sweep it under the carpet rather than learning to acknowledge and accept that change. We can't help who we fall in love with, whatever our sexuality, but I do think there's a long way to go, definitely.
What about you, Abby?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think possibly a lot of it is nurture rather than nature. Because if you're from a family where you've got generations that don't agree with it or think it's wrong, they're not then going to go and say, no, it's fine. They're going to teach you what they think. And I think a lot of people probably are still learning about it all, really. I know I am. That I follow all of it. And I've still got a lot to learn, like this stuff every day that I'm just like, oh, I didn't realise that. Or like people, you say something and then someone's like, oh, you shouldn't really say that because that'll offend. And it's like, oh, but you don't know because but
the thing is, I think even I'm in the community and I'm no expert. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make me an expert at all. And there's sexualities and genders that I still need to learn about.
Yeah.
I still need to. I'm still not sure about, and I'm frightened even in the community to bring it up, just in case it's brought the wrong way. But there will be people out there watching. Oh, go on, Mandy.
That's the problem, though, isn't it? We're all too scared to say anything in case we offend somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the chances are, though, you're not going to offend the personal community you're talking about. Somebody else who's listening, they're going to say that's offensive. But if you then ask the community that you're commenting about, they're going to say, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So it's hard because it is.
Well,
you don't want to offend anyone.
Well, there are people's views out there, and they are right.
I can't hear you now.
But there are people's views out there that feel that actually we've come on. And we need to stop talking about it, and we need to just accept it, and it is what it is. But do you agree with that?
I think we still have to talk about these things. Like we've said, we're always learning all the time about everything, and we're not actually experts in things. But I think there's a way of being educated and learning things. If you don't agree with something, you don't have to be mean to not agree with it, if that makes sense. Just because we don't agree with something and somebody else is doing that, as long as we understand a little bit about it, but it's each to their own, isn't it, really? As Mandy was saying, I think social media has got a huge part to play in this, where I've seen myself on Facebook where somebody will put something on and then all of a sudden they're kind of lynched into just having an opinion. So I think people who are in different communities in the LGBT quite frightened to even talk about these things, and they shouldn't feel that way. They should be able to speak about who they are and what they are, and I think just society's changed so much, and sometimes it's not for the better, really. I don't think.
No, that's really interesting to know. Can second question that I want to ask you is: do you feel love is now love in the UK, or do you still feel there's still in the United Kingdom? I'm talking about United Kingdom. Do you still feel there's a lot of people scared and frightened to reveal who they really are?
Definitely. Yeah, I think people are still scared to love who they want to love, because society says it's wrong, when, to be honest, people don't care. Not in a horrible way, they don't.
Yeah.
I don't care if a man loves a man, if a man loves a woman.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered. I'm going to like you if I like you, and I'm not going to like you if I don't like you. I don't care what you do behind closed doors, what you do in the street. I'm not bothered. Just be happy and love who you want to love. Sounds a little bit hippie, not how it come out. But yeah. And I think if people actually spoke out, a lot of people would be the same and just be like, oh, I'm not bothered. And what gets me is when someone likes someone as a friend, and then they find out that they're gay or whatever, and they're like, oh, I don't like him now.
Yes.
But they've not changed as a person.
Yeah.
But people are like that just because they've now found, they could have been gay for like the 10 years they've known him, but because they just found out, they're now, oh, I'm not going to be friends with you.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't get rid of them. Can you?
Yeah, just going on what Abby said, when I was 17, I was at college and I met my best friend at college who was male. And I remember we were having lunch in McDonald's, as you do as a student. And I remember him saying to me, I've got something I need to tell you. So obviously you're thinking, oh my God, you know, what is it? And I remember tucking into my burger and I remember him saying, I'm gay. And I just carried on. I was just like, yeah, okay. And his reaction was, aren't you bothered? And I kind of said what Abby said, and I went, but you're still the same person to me, whether you've got 3 heads, 6 arms and 20 legs. You're still the person and the friend who, you know, we've always been friends. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. And we went through college together. And because he was frightened of everybody else's reaction, we acted as a straight couple because that's what everyone thought we were. We went to all our lessons together. We was always together. But it was because I was the first person he told about his sexuality. So I was sort of his little bubble, if that makes sense. And we just played along with what everyone thought we were. So they thought we were a happy couple, you know.
Well, look at Linc Schofield.
But he was so worried about my reaction, and I was like, well, you know, you're still the same person. It's no different. And we were best friends for many, many years. We had so many laughs and everything. And I was quite saddened by our friends' reaction to his sexuality when they found out. It was kind of, oh, I don't want to know now. And it was quite sad really. But we've always been friends, and we remain friends now, and it didn't bother me in the slightest at all.
Mandy, have you got a coming out story? Have you got a story to share about coming out? Yeah,
what, when you told me something and I thought you were going to tell me you fancied me? And I was really scared, thinking, no, please, no. And then when you said you were gay, I was like, oh, thank God for that. And you were like, oh, why? And I said, because I thought you said you were going to fancy me.
I love how that's worse than him being gay then, Mandy.
Pardon?
I love how that's worse than him being gay.
Well, no, because he's a lot younger than me. And I didn't want to upset him by rejecting him. So it stopped me having to reject him.
Funny, honestly, it was so funny. She looked like she was about to wear knickers, honestly. She really did. She looked so scared. It put me on edge, and I was like, Mandy, I'm gay. She was like, oh, I don't have to talk to you about not being in a relationship with you then.
Oh, that's so funny.
So that wasn't a nasty reaction. It was just
it was
a relieved action.
Yeah.
Do you still think that education plays a huge part of it? And do you think that we could be educated more growing into adults if it was in the school education system?
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
It's not the LGBT, but I think it's relevant. Britain's Got Talent the other week with Ashley Banjo and his team, and they did a fantastic dance set, and it was very powerful, and it was about Black Lives Matter, and I thought it was amazing, and I thought that's just what you need. And they had thousands of complaints. Apparently they had thousands of complaints, and it wasn't relevant, it shouldn't have been on the TV, it was too political, and I'm like, no, that's exactly where it wants to be, exactly what wants to be said, and it needs to be in mainstream. And I think it's the same with the rights of everybody, not just Black Lives Matter, for LGBT and all the other letters which I don't know, so I do apologise. And again, that's me not knowing, being ignorant, and I need to find out. But I think it needs to be in the mainstream, and yes, education is everything. And you shouldn't be, and I think when they say about like our colonial past and we should be ashamed and tear this down and tear that down and this statue, that statue, and you think, that's our past. We're not living in the past. That's like saying to every German, that, you have to be ashamed that your parents or your grandparents or your friends were Nazis. Well, they are. But that doesn't define who they are, and it doesn't mean they can't move forward. And it's the same with us. With any country, everybody's got a past in their history that's not very nice, but again, that has defined where we are now. Education is everything, but it's not just. You need to learn about the past to then see how far you've come, to then see how far you can go. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it does. It does make a lot of sense. But do you think that and again, this is an open, wide question, really. It's not just to do with LGBT, but the Black Lives Matters, as you've just talked about. Do you think that we need to be more focusing in the education system about real life as well as learning?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with what Mandy's just said. Education is everything. As you know, I'm a survivor of domestic abuse. I didn't know anything about it until I was in that situation. But maybe if there was something in sex education at school, maybe, I'm not saying I wouldn't have got into that relationship, excuse me, but maybe I would have left a lot sooner than I did. I'd never heard of it. So, education and power, education and knowledge is powerful, and we do need to be educated, even in those things that don't affect us directly. We still need to be educated to understand those things, not just sweep them under the carpet, but to have a little bit of, to acknowledge them and to understand them a little bit, so we can kind of just move forward instead of sweeping everything under the carpet with an attitude of, oh, it doesn't affect me, or things like that. We should be educated about these things, absolutely.
Well, the thing is, to me as well, is people have always looked at me a little bit weird when I've said this, but when it comes to sex education, it's always uncomfortable. It's not a comfortable for kids or teenagers or anything.
They just want to crawl under a rock.
Yeah, my daughters are saying.
I strongly say this time after time after time, is that I think, like, the men and the women used to be separated, and I don't know if that still happens nowadays, and I really hope that they've moved on, that we're not separating them, because I think that if I had gone, well, obviously I'm not going to have a wife, but if I had gone into a sex education class and learned about what women go through and how women grow up and the menopause and the stuff like that, maybe we wouldn't have that barrier in relationships. And I've always said that I just wish school education would bring that together. This is what males go through, this is what females go through. Because we might have better relationships with our partners because they understand what we're going through. Develop, especially for women. I just thank God that I'm gay, because I wouldn't have a clue about periods, about menopause, about a woman. I remember specifically my mum. I remember it like it was yesterday. My mum turned into this happy-go-lucky sort of play in the park mum, but suddenly this monster that just came alive. I was like, and it's because she was going through the change that my dad didn't feel like he could support her because he didn't know what it was really all about. We'd all just laugh it off and go, oh, she's having a knock flush again. But actually, if we're educated more in that area, would we be better partners?
I mean, it is still separate. I know in primary schools they do still teach it separately. But I think me, as a 10-year-old girl, I wouldn't want to be sat in a classroom full of lads talking about periods and me going through a change. Because it's uncomfortable anyway. And I just don't think one that could...
sex, couldn't it? Not necessarily as a group.
Yeah.
Boys could learn about it, women could learn about what boys go through. But I think a lot of it is about how to know if you're in a good relationship or not. Or not a good relationship. Oh God, I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean? In a good relationship. Healthy relationship, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the thing is, I think I know women go through a lot more than men go through. And I agree with you there, Abby. I don't think it's right that we all sit in a classroom and if you're going to separate it apart, I still think that's important to separate it apart. But maybe for women, so you learn about your own bodies and what you go through and stuff like this. And then for you and I know it's that uncomfortable feeling, but then for the teacher to go, right, and this is what men go through. This is how men develop and men change and stuff like that. And the same for men. I just think relationships would be better if we understood what we went through. And women just need to understand that we go through the menopause, and they just need to know about that, so they know what happens through the menopause. But tell us what you think. Do you think we should be more educated when it comes to LGBT, even sex education, as we briefly talked about it this evening? And do you think we are at a still point and we've fully accepted the LGBT community, or do you think there's still a long way to go? Finally, we finish on a town that two of our panellists are from. We finish in Bardney tonight. Good evening, Bardney. As we talk about Bardney's good news, positive news has been shared in press about Bardney, about how they're starting to reopen stuff, how communities are coming back together, and just full of good stories, really. So, panel, have you learned anything positive about yourself or the community you are in throughout lockdown?
I can drink a bottle of wine every weekend.
I can clean my house top to bottom. That's been my coping mechanism over lockdown.
What about you, Manda? Or have you just kept as Manda Stannard as you've always been?
Well, I am what I am. I have learnt that there possibly are more people out there that will follow the rules in the system than are not. But those that don't follow, I have learnt that I can have quite violent thoughts because I want to just slap them in the face because they're not following the rules, like staying 2 meters away from me, or that sort of thing. Shopping. I don't like shopping with people that don't follow the rules. So yes, I've learned that I can probably, I have violent thoughts towards certain people.
Well, I've learned. I actually, because I'm a very social butterfly, but I've learned to enjoy my own company throughout lockdown, because obviously. Thank goodness my relationship ended before lockdown, because I think one of us might have ended under the patio by the end of lockdown. But I think I've just enjoyed to like my own company that little bit more. So I've learned quite a bit from that. Have you found this has been an eye-opener to the people you really care about? Oh,
I thought long and hard about that one. I didn't know whether to answer or not. It's definitely been a learning curve, definitely. I live on my own. Well, I live with my daughter and my cat, but I'm on my own. And again, it boils down to online, just to see if everyone's okay and things like that. You have to log in. No one makes that phone call. No one sends that text anymore. It feels quite lonely, really.
So you found it quite lonely throughout lockdown.
Yes, very, very lonely.
Any difference of opinion there through lockdown?
Well, we've got a group chat going, all the ones that we met through doing drama. So we had weekly quizzes through lockdown. So each week a different person would do the quiz, and we'd dress up. So we had like movie themes, music star theme. One night we did games, so I went as Guess Who, and just stuff like that. But it kind of then turned into a competition. So it started by reading off a card, and then it got into PowerPoint and things flying in and out and that sort of thing. And we had like a family group chat as well, and we'd video call every week. So that was quite nice. Because my stepdad, his family are from Rotherham, so it wasn't even like you could secretly nip over. So we had to video chat with them. So.
And don't you dare say that you felt lonely throughout lockdown. I walked from my house all the way to your house, which is like 4 bloody miles away, to come and see if you're all right and sat in your back garden.
I am old, remember, as you keep pointing out.
Have you found lockdown lonely, or have you found lockdown busy and a learning curve?
Me?
Yeah.
I've been fortunate because I've worked through it. I've been able to work from home. So I suppose for me it hasn't been hugely different during the week. I do miss not being able to see my mates, like pop, not that I ever did pop over and see you very often.
You did.
Well, it makes you realise that you haven't. When you can't, it makes you realise, because when you can, it's I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, and then next week comes and goes. I do miss not being able to see my friends, because I see my family, my son and my mum's over this last couple of weeks, because we thought everything was going downhill. Now it's still climbing again. So anyway, and so I see my children, I see people at work, and I see strangers in the supermarkets. That's it. That's my life. And I do feel that, I know it sounds silly, but I worry that I'm going to lose my friends, and I know I'm not. But that is just.
You're still with me for life.
I know, but but I think that's just that's what plays on your mind, because you're not seeing people. Are they going to forget about you? Who could forget about me? But but you know what I mean? It's sort of like I worry I'm not going to have my friends at the end of it.
Oh,
and it's stupid.
You'll be sick of me. So, panel, I'm going to put you on the spot and do a bit of role play for the final scene of tonight.
Oh, Nick, I don't think I'm ready for that.
Let's go. Here we go. I'd like you to pretend for 2 seconds, I'll give you 2 seconds to think about it, that you are the Prime Minister. And we are on tonight's news night. So I'm going to direct you straight over when it's your turn. And you've got to give a positive statement to the nation to keep them smiling and to keep them going throughout this pandemic. What would you say? So, welcome to BBC News Night. We go live over to our Prime Minister this evening, Abby Victoria.
Hello. So awkward. Thank you for all the work that you're doing to help us tackle this virus. We've still got a way to go, but it is looking like we are coming to an end. We've just got to stick at it. Just make sure that you're checking on people, looking after yourselves, and we will get through this together. And after it, we'll just have one massive party and celebrate in style.
Well done, Abby. That was really, really good. You touched my heart at some of those points you do. Welcome to BBC News Now. We go live over to our Prime Minister, Sam Binningham.
I knew it was my turn next. Good evening, nation. This is your Prime Minister speaking. Well done on all the hard work you've done so far. Once things go back to normal, we'll send everybody a bottle of Prosecco and we'll have one big party.
Oh, that's lovely. Make sure you send me too, though, won't you? Because I did the Loose Links project, so make sure you do too for me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to BBC News Now. We go live over to our Prime Minister, Mandy Stannard. Oh, Mandy, you've turned your microphone off. She's done that on purpose. No, she's so done that on purpose. We can't even read that she said. Oh, well, that was a very nice statement. Thank you very much, Mandy Stannard. That was beautiful. Well, we'll take that on board. Thank you for joining us on the Loose Links show this week. It's been quite an interesting topic and we've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us next week where there's a bit of a different show. We have the band Live Wire to perform to shut our show next week. So please come and join and watch them perform live on the show next week. Also joining them and joining me, Nicholas James, is the panel of Sue Craving, James Bensley and Adam Harrison, with lots more subjects, lots more debates and lots more chat. Thank you for your company. Good night and see you next week. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.